Hi, welcome. If you like stories, subscribe to the channel for more updates. Thanks. Mom, I can't live like this anymore. Ethan and his mom barely let me eat. This sudden SOS call came from my once happy daughter, Elana. Elana, come back home. I instinctively shouted. Elana had become worryingly thin. I won't forgive Ethan and his mother. I resolved with determination. I'm Jonna, a 50-year-old housewife. My husband James is 52 and a company employee. Our daughter is turning 26 after graduating from college. She landed a job at a major corporation and started living alone. James and I were enjoying our life as a couple after Elana moved out. Although Elana was successful in her job, she was shy around men and hesitant in relationships. So when she got a boyfriend, James and I were overjoyed. James kept urging Elana to bring him over, asking, "What's he like? Bring him home sometime." I cautioned James, "Honey, don't push her. She'll introduce him when she's ready. Let's wait patiently." Elana just smiled. Soon, Elana said she'd bring Ethan over. She playfully told James, "Dad, you kept insisting, so I complained to Ethan. He agreed to come over to meet you, but don't say anything weird to Ethan, okay?" James was visibly delighted when Ethan came to greet us. James and I were nervous. However, Ethan's friendly conversation soon eased our tension. Ethan introduced himself to James and me. "Hello, I'm Ethan Smith, and I'm seriously dating Elana with the intention of marrying her." Elana blushed and said, "Marrying? Ethan, you're embarrassing me. You said it was just a casual greeting." James happily told Elana, "No, it's great that he's thinking about the future, Ethan. I entrust Elana to you." Their relationship progressed smoothly with our blessing, and Ethan proposed formally 5 months later. Seeing a blushing but happy Elana made both James and me very happy. I heard Ethan worked for a major bank system company. James and I discussed how their future seemed secure as wedding preparations began. Elana frequently sought advice. One day, Elana asked me, "Hey, Mom, how much is the market price for a wedding ring?" "Ethan is planning to buy one for about $10,000. Surprised, I replied, "For wedding rings, maybe about $2,500 each for the couple. I've heard engagement rings are around $3,500. Elana seemed a bit uneasy. Right, I thought so too. After asking around and reading magazines, I felt Ethan's sense of money was odd. However, when Elana said, "Ethan insists it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing and wants me to have something nice," I conveniently interpreted it as Ethan wanting to give her a special gift. After some time, the two moved out of their bachelor's residence and moved into a condominium in New York. The area was very expensive but very convenient for commuting. I was a little concerned and said to Elana, "Hey, Elana, the area you and Ethan live in must be pretty expensive to rent, right? Are you going to be able to afford the monthly payments?" She reassured me, "Don't worry, Mom. Ethan's working hard and earns a decent salary too. His job requires living near the bank. Ethan is a systems engineer at a bank-rated systems company. If there is a problem, Ethan needs to rush to the site even in the middle of the night. That's why the location had to be close to the bank, within a short taxi ride." Apparently, Elana explained, "Ethan's company gives a substantial housing allowance, so we're fine." "Don't worry, Mom." Not fully understanding the system company situation, I just accepted it as how things are. Months passed, and I invited Elana for lunch before her marriage. Elana and I often went for lunch together. However, after her marriage, when I invited her to join me, she often declined, saying she was busy with work or had made other plans. James suggested that maybe she's just busy with her married life, but it didn't seem like Elana was avoiding me. Over the phone, Elana said, "Next Saturday, that's when Ethan is on a business trip. Sure, Mom, I can make it. I'll find a place for us." I was a bit thrilled to have lunch with my daughter after half a year. When I finally saw Elana, she looked a bit pale. I was concerned and said, "Elan, what's wrong? If you're not feeling well, take it easy, just stay home and rest, okay?" Elana reassured me, "No, I'm fine. I've just been tired from NDI overtime lately. Plus, lunch with you might be just what I need to unwind." She managed a weak smile. We then enjoyed a good chat, just the two of us. About 2 hours in, Elana's phone rang. She looked shocked when she saw the display. Elana told me, "Mom, I have to go home already. Ethan's mother is calling." Elana explained that Ivy was at their place. Surprised, I said, "Sorry for keeping you during such a busy time." "It's okay, you can hurry back." Apologizing, Elana quickly left. Another half year went by, and during this time, something terrible happened to Elana. I learned about it from a phone call from her. It was a sad day, and James and I were enjoying our day off. While I was making her tea, suddenly my phone rang. The phone's display showed Elana. I quickly answered. Elana hesitantly started, "Mom, it's me. Hi." She seemed unable to continue. Sensing something was wrong, I asked, "What's the matter? Did something happened?" Elana remained silent for a while. Patiently, I waited for her to start talking. Eventually, she said, "Mom, I can't live like this anymore. Ethan and his mom barely let me eat. I might not survive if this continues." Shocked, I asked, "Are you okay? Sounds like things are really bad. Why don't you come back home?" Elana seemed undecided. I firmly told her, "If you're feeling unwell, you can just sit around, Ellie. Come back home. We'll talk it over when you get here." Elana responded, "Really, can I come back? But I don't have any money. I can't leave." I thought this was strange. Elana was earning a decent salary, but there was no time for a long discussion. Her situation sounded serious. "First, I need to meet with Elana to see how she is doing," I told her. "Take only your valuables with you and leave the house. There is a convenience store near your apartment, right? I will drive there and pick you up. Wait for me there." Sobbing, Elana agreed. So James and I hurried to the convenience store. When we arrived, Elana was crouched in the parking lot. When she saw me, she said, Mom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done this." She broke down and cried. I hugged Elana, and together with James, we helped her into the car. She was terribly thin and almost gray in complexion. What could have happened to her? I was astonished. I held Elana until she stopped crying. James said to me, "She will not be able to come down here. Let's take her home soon and give her a good rest. We need to talk to Ethan." I agreed with James. Yes, right now, letting Elana rest is our top priority. When we arrived home, Elana, possibly due to exhaustion, immediately fell asleep on the sofa. After she woke up, I served her some easy-to-eat food. She ate voraciously in front of us. She must have been very hungry. It was shocking to hear her stories about not being allowed to eat and having no money. I asked Elana, "What do you mean you're not allowed to eat?" Elana explained, "My salary is lower than Ethan's, so Ethan and his mom, Ivy, keep telling me to save more." Gradually, my food portions were reduced. I asked, "Really? But you're making the food, right? Because you're a married couple and you eat the same food, right?" Elana shook her head. "No, for the past 6 months, Ivy has been cooking Ethan's meals. I'm not even allowed in the kitchen." James asked, "Ivy is in your house. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. Does this mean Ivy is staying there all the time?" Elana explained that Ivy had moved in with them about 6 months ago, and they started living together gradually. Right around the time Elana and I had lunch, Ivy had an argument with her husband and came to stay with Ian for just a week. But then Ethan got mad at his father and told Ivy she could stay indefinitely. I was shocked and glanced at James, who seemed to feel the same. Elana continued, "Since then, Ivy has been criticizing my budgeting, saying it's all wrong and that I can't manage money at all. After Ivy criticized the budget, she took control of the household finances. Moreover, Ethan did not oppose Ivy at all and instead joined her in blaming me. Now Ivy is controlling Ethan's and my entire salary. Elana said, Ivy saw my pay slip and demanded I work more, including overtime. Ivy told me, your salary is much lower than Ethan's. Leave the housework to me and work more. How about doing more overtime? Ethan also told me, yes, that's right. I agree with more overtime. It's nice to have my mom doing the housework. You're lucky, Elana. Ivy scrutinized Elana's pay slips, always looking for unnecessary expenses, and eventually found something else to criticize, the cafeteria deductions. Elana's company has a cafeteria, and lunch costs are deducted from her salary. Ivy told Elana, you're spending too much on lunch. I'll make you a lunchbox from now on. Stop eating at the cafeteria. Elana's attempts to argue were met with attacks from both Ivy and Ethan. Elana confided, whenever I try to speak up, Ivy and Ethan gang up on me. It never ends up being a calm discussion. Elana said something, but they are suppressed by Ivy and Ethan. Now Ethan and Ivy control all of Elana's salary, leaving her with almost no money of her own. When Elana wanted to go to the hair salon, Ivy called it extravagant and reluctantly gave her money. Ivy also complained about Elana's makeup being too expensive, telling her to buy cheaper products. Elana can't even buy new clothes, but Ivy never complains about Ethan's spending. Ethan seemed to spend money lavishly. Elana told me the other day, Ethan bought a branded watch. He told me that because of his job, he would be treated like an idiot if he didn't wear something decent. Ethan has a reckless way of spending his money. Elana began to sob as she recalled these painful events. James and I listened in disbelief. Then Elana's phone rang. She flinched and turned pale. I instinctively answered the phone for her. It was Ivy. So, isn't this Eliana's phone? Why is Johnny answering? Ivy asked. I told Ivy, hello, it's been a while. Eliana is not feeling well. I can talk to you on her behalf. Ivy said, is that so? Well, all right. Could you tell Eliana to come back home soon? I replied, unfortunately, I can't do that. Eliana is unwell. She'll stay here until she recovers. Ivy retorted, you're coddling her too much. As a mother, you should educate Eliana properly. She can't manage a budget or do household chores. It's always one problem after another. Struggling to find the right words, I remained silent. Then Ivy changed the topic, asking, so, Eliana will be commuting to work from your home? I replied, yes, considering her health. We'll need to discuss this with her company. But for now, she'll be commuting from here. Ivy then said, please tell Eliana to return as soon as she's well. I responded, excuse me, Ivy, but I think it's necessary for us, including Ethan, to have a discussion about the future living arrangements. Ivy snorted and said, fine, we can talk any time, before hanging up. I couldn't understand why Ivy was so confident, but at least Eliana was safe for now. We needed to focus on her health and feelings and plan our next steps. That night, after Eliana went to sleep, James and I discussed the situation. The next day, Eliana was examined at a hospital. As expected, she was underweight and not sleeping well. After talking with her, we decided she should take a leave of absence from work. She enjoyed my cooking, saying it was delicious. I asked her, what were you eating while living with Ian? What kind of meals did Ivy prepare for you? Then Eliana said, my mother-in-law only cooks for Ethan and herself. I always had bread ends from a local bakery. They sell bread ends very cheaply. That's what I used to eat. I was shocked. Eliana had been deprived of proper meals while Ivy and Ethan ate normally. Since when? What about your lunchbox? Didn't Ivy prepare that too? I asked. Elana should have been stopped from eating at the company cafeteria by Ivy since 3 months ago. My lunchbox was just bread ends in a container. I was embarrassed, so I ate secretly in the break room when no one was around, Elana said. Ivy would taunt her about not earning as much as Ethan, saying, "With your salary, bread ends are all you deserve." She had been living on just bread ends for 3 months. I was shocked. James, who heard everything, couldn't hide his surprise. Elana, tired from talking, lay down to rest. James told me, "This is serious, strange. We need to investigate further. If Ian or Ivy calls again, by some time, I'll gather more information." I told James, yes, I think this is going too far. Then James and I began looking into Eliana's circumstances. I started by calling her work colleague, who said, "Recently, Elana has been doing a lot of overtime and looked pale. She often declined after work drinks, saying she couldn't go because of her husband and meal." James also talked to Eliana's boss. Eliana's boss mentioned, "I've been concerned about Elana lately because she's been doing too much overtime. She seemed desperate to work." Eliana's boss commented, "Elana is so conscientious. Maybe she's been pushing herself too hard. I hope she recovers soon and comes back to us." Thanks to her boss's initiative, Elana was granted the sickness allowance by her company. The allowance was 2/3 of her salary, but we were grateful to receive it. We decided to have the sickness allowance paid into a different account from her usual salary account. 2 weeks after Elana returned home, Ethan called. He insisted, "Elana should be well by now. Please tell her to come back." When I looked at James, he answered the phone. James humbly requested Ethan, "Elana is not fully recovered yet. Please let her rest for another week." Ethan told James over the phone, "I guess there's no choice. Just one more week, okay?" And then hung up. I protested to James, "But she needs at least 3 more weeks to recover, and we don't know what they'll do to her if she goes back." James reassured me, "Don't worry. We won't stick to the 1-week timeline. They've treated her terribly, and we have a plan." He then asked Elana, "What do you want to do? If you want to try again with Ethan, we won't stop you. But if you want to leave him, we'll support you." Elana, suddenly resolute, said, "I've been thinking. Am I really as useless as Ivy and Ethan say? But this isn't right. They're just taking my money. I don't want this anymore. I want a divorce." James encouraged her. "That's right. You've chosen your path well. We'll always be on your side." James shared the information he had gathered with us. We prepared for the possibility of Ethan coming over, ready to handle the situation. And 1 week passed. We didn't contact Ian. 9 days later, Ethan and Ivy came to visit. When the doorbell rang, I checked the intercom and informed Elana and James. James suggested, "Let's talk to them directly and settle this." Elana nodded in agreement. Opening the door, we found Ethan and Ivy glaring at us. Calming myself, I greeted them warmly. "Hello, what brings you here so suddenly?" Ethan demanded, "Why hasn't Elana returned home? It's been a week. You did tell her, right?" Ivy also told me, "That's right. You can't do your chores, you can't do your laundry, and you can't even keep your promise to come home." What a mess you are. Parents and children are helpless. I invited them in, saying, "Let's not talk in the doorway. Please come inside." Reluctantly, they entered. Elana told them firmly, "I won't return to that house, Ethan. Please, let's divorce. I can't live with you anymore." Ethan threatened loudly, "You think you can just decide that?" But Elana stood her ground, facing Ethan with resolve. Ivy then berated Elana. "For 6 months, I did all the housework and supported Ethan, while you neglected your duties." Elana told Ivy, "It's not that I didn't do the chores. Whenever I did, you would criticize my methods and take over the tasks, didn't you?" Ivy retorted, "How dare you speak to me like that? After making me work so hard, You should be ashamed." Ethan joined in. "That's right. My mother helped because you couldn't handle the chores, allowing you to focus on work." That's when James shouted at them, "What nonsense! You took Eliana's salary and fed her only bread ends. Your actions are the worst kind of abuse." They were shocked by James's outburst. James added, "Ethan, you have been fired from your company. I checked out your employment status. You don't have the power to continue paying the rent on that apartment anymore, do you?" Ethan began to look uneasy. Eliana added, "I didn't know until Dad told me." James continued, "I hired a detective to find out. Ethan, you were fired 6 months ago for an affair with your boss's wife." Eliana accused Ethan, "You pushed me to work because you lost your job and income." Ethan turned pale and hung his head. James then confronted Ivy. "You have a shopping addiction. And that's right, you didn't leave your home due to a fight, but because you were divorced and had nowhere to go." Ivy lost her composure and turned pale. James concluded, Ethan is being sued for alimony, and Ivy is being chased by debt collectors. They were trying to pass their debts on to Eliana. Trembling with anger, Eliana placed a piece of paper on the desk. She said, "Once and for all, let's divorce. I've filled out half of the divorce form. You complete it and submit it to the authorities. We'll communicate through lawyers from now on." Ethan prostrated at Eliana's feet on the carpet, pleading, "Please don't say we should divorce. It was just a moment of madness. I was wrong to hide it from you. You're all I have, Eliana. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." Ivy also appealed to Eliana, crying, "I did all the housework and took care of everything, didn't I? I'm sorry. Please come back. I'll keep doing the chores." Eliana, looking at Ethan and Ivy coldly, said, "I'm fed up. Who would want to start over with you too? You hid what you did and exploited my salary. I don't want to see your faces." Ethan and Ivy were unable to move from their spot, crying inconsolably. James sternly told them, "The conversation is over. It's time for you to leave. If you don't, we have our ways to deal with it." Reluctantly, Ethan and Ivy stood up and left our home, defeated. Afterward, with a lawyer's help, Eliana and Ethan officially divorced. Of course, we filed for alimony from Ethan. In addition to hiding his affair, we also added the fact that Ethan did not provide adequate meals to Eliana in the alimony claim. We had a doctor's diagnosis, which served as conclusive evidence against Ethan. Ethan had to move out of the apartment and live in a cheaper one with Ivy. Now he works day and night to pay the alimony to Eliana, and Ivy, not working, has become the target of Ethan's anger, and they constantly fight. Our lawyer informed us about Ethan and Ivy's current situation. Eliana fully recovered and returned to work. Eliana seems to be enjoying her work more than ever. She apologized to me and James. "I'm sorry for being a divorcee and coming back home. Thank you for all your help with the divorce. I'll be staying here for a while." I hugged her, saying, "Divorce doesn't matter. The fact that you're alive and well is all that matters to us." James added, "Don't overdo it. You're a hard worker, and sometimes you keep things to yourself too much." Eliana admitted, "I should have talked to you both sooner. I tried to handle too much on my own." Seeing Eliana's smile return was truly heartwarming, and James, who stood by us and fought against Ethan and Ivy, proved to be incredibly reliable. I fell for him all over again. When I told him, he joked, "Then how about showing your gratitude with food? Make my favorite pork cutlets tonight. As a family, we've overcome difficulties and will surely face more in the future. But with James and Eliana by my side, I want to support each other as a family."